Welcome to this Part 3 presentation. This presentation is an update to the Benicia Schools Program Review Officer. What will follow is some new and some review information about neighborhoods, demographics, and other information about the Benicia School District. This information will be graphically represented using the maps generated by the ArcGIS website. Unfortunately, the Benicia Unified School District's website did not show the maps of the boundaries for the 4 different elementary schools. The website's links were there, but they were currently broken. And I'm going to have to guess that since there are changes being made in the boundaries, even as late as the first couple of weeks in July, that these boundaries are in flux. Actually, there was an article in the newspaper about citizens being going to the board because they were angry about change in boundaries. So this is boundaries are very important to these people here at the moment. So what the district website did show is the streets that belong to the different boundaries. This is 2007 data, and so I use that to make pinpoints on a map of Benicia using the ArcGIS system, and created 4 different areas. So the Semple, Turner, Henderson, and Farmer areas are outlined, as you can see here. Like I said, this is as close as I could come. There's probably a bit of an error, but the general areas are laid out. The first map I created with the ArcGIS system is population density. Population density is sometimes greater where rental properties are in higher concentration, and therefore transiency rates are to be expected to be higher. These individuals tend to be of lower income and potentially lower educational attainment. As you can see here, there's not too much diversity in the population density over the entire area. The next map I generated, I cut into 4 different slides. This is the income level of the 4 different areas, 4 different elementary school areas. So looking at the regional boundaries of the 4 elementary schools, Semple contains a higher level among the 4 in diversity. There's a larger spread in income levels. However, most of the concentration is at the highest level. Mary Farmer also has a range of income levels, but to a lesser degree of the Semple School District area, or sorry, the elementary school area. If you click within each of those areas within the Farmer area, you can see different bar charts will pop up with a slightly different range. But again, they are primarily high income levels. The Joe Henderson area also had high income. There's some of the greatest concentration of affluence in this small area just for Henderson. And finally, the Turner area, similarly populated with families of incomes between $75,000 and $175,000 a year or greater. The next area I looked at was net worth, and to be expected, net worth kind of follows the income, and you can see the numbers on this map here. It ranges anywhere from $154,000 a year per family to upwards of $750,000. No, I'm sorry. Somewhere a little, yes, $767,000 in an area near in the upper right corner there. So this is 2 to 3 times or more the national average for income. And this was kind of an interesting map I generated. It's retail spending, kind of hand in hand with Income level and net worth is surplus cash to go spend. So the numbers that you see here range, most of them are above 100. The number 100 means that's the average of the U.S. population. So an average person in the U.S. spends an amount of money, and the number of 100 means you're at the average. So if you look at an area within the Henderson zone, there is a number 178, and that's right here. And that means that consumers in that area spent 78% higher than the national average. So there's no area that I saw within the Benicia district that was below average in spending for retail items. The next slide goes into population, those under 18 years old, and basically these are the kids. It does not tell you the exact age, and that would be helpful. So some of these kids might already be out of high school. In previous data we looked at, that the population of schools is in decline, a slow decline, at least at the moment. And it would be helpful if we knew that these students or these kids under 18 were, let's say, about to go into elementary school or continue to go into elementary school, but this map could not tell us that information. This is again kind of hand in hand with the household with children is the household size. I indicated on this map the number of people in the household. It ranges from 1.9 to 3.4 over the 4 districts, 4 areas for the district for the 4 elementary schools. Interesting to note that in these 2 upper levels for Turner and Henderson, these are the areas of the greater affluence. So we can make the connection that the greater the affluence, the more children. This is unemployment rate, and as you can see, the percentages on the map. National average is somewhere between 9 and 11% at the moment, and we're kind of right at the average, at least at the Henderson and Temple area, slightly below national average, and at and/or slightly above in the Mary Farmer and the Semple areas, higher unemployment rates. So if you put together the income levels, the net wealth, and the unemployment, you kind of get this aggregate, what they call social vulnerability, not venerability. Sorry about that. So the social vulnerability is a statistic that they mapped out here. It refers to the sensitivity of exposure due to population changes, housing characteristics, age, low income, disability, home value, and other factors. So what you can see is this: the darker areas are the less vulnerable, and Mary Farmer has some of the more vulnerable areas in its section, and clearly the Turner and Henderson areas are the least vulnerable. Next one is labor force participation. Interesting to note that Henderson zone has both the highest and the lowest amount of labor force participation. This is the people in the working age group, so probably a lot of retired people up in the Henderson area that are wealthy. Next section I looked at was education level. Unfortunately, the ArcGIS system could not give me that data. That would be pretty helpful, but I would guess that higher education levels is kind of hand in hand with educational attainment. Maybe right, maybe wrong, but again, this data was not available. Next section, I cut into 4 different ones since there was lots of graphs to look at. This is the racial diversity. So in the first section, we looked at the Robert Semple area, and this section, along as the next 3, we look at the whites or Caucasians are somewhere around 75% or more of the population overall, and the smaller neighborhoods are within the different plates within the neighborhood. You'll see that there is small variation in in the minority populations, but not too much. So the maroon color of the pie chart is black, the yellow is Asian, and I suppose that's an unfortunate coincidence, and the purple is kind of other. They do mention the Hispanic population here in raw numbers on each section, but there's no connection with that to English language learners or low income, and I couldn't make that connection with the maps here on the ArcGIS system. So the Matthew Turner zone does have some pockets of greater diversity. However, whites are still over 50% of the population. If we overlaid this layer with income, we might be able to visualize if the minority populations were also residing in lower income areas, but I did not do that. So likewise, Joe Henderson zone again is primarily white. There are larger numbers. There are differences in numbers in different areas of the zone. So each one I published or put on here different images, so that the number of Hispanic Latino population kind of varies from 103 to twice as many, or 484. So depending on where you are inside the Henderson zone, there's a change in at least Latino, sorry, at least the Hispanic population. Okay, again, Mary Farmer zone has some slight variation. Overall, fairly similar to the previous three. The data, again, makes no connection between underserviced populations, even though they do put raw numbers for Hispanics. No connection to English language learners, and therefore, no connection that I can make directly to the use of the grant money. Almost at the end here, the lifestyle layer was kind of interesting. It actually gives these kind of fun names like suburban splendor and wealthy seaboard suburbs and empty nesters to an aggregate of characteristics, and they call it the tapestry. So the tapestry classifies neighborhoods into 65 unique market segments based on socioeconomic and demographic characteristics. And it kind of consolidates this into what they call life mode and urbanization groups. And it's fairly homogeneous here. Mostly dark green, so I've got lots of urban splendor and silver and gold people. Not me. Anyway, last slide. So over this entire process, we looked at just a whole bunch of different areas on the web to find out about the school district. From the district itself, data, the census, we used Great Schools, we used a service for real estate, Movoto. There's DataQuest, California Department of Education. Even used Facebook and Yelp for site information. Plus, we used in this presentation the ArcGIS system. And after reviewing the Benicia district from so many angles and online tools, I can safely say that I know more about Benicia than my own district. I've been here for 15 years. I wonder if all districts have as much information about them online. It's tremendous. The ArcGIS graphical data was helpful for visualizing neighborhoods' characteristics. It did not give me all the information I wanted on how to direct this technology grant. About what the right pick is, I'm confident that Semple School is a good candidate. Farmer, maybe not as good a candidate, but it has slightly more affluence. But there was previous data about success of the EL students in the Farmer area, so I think they'd still remain a fairly good candidate. But Semple certainly is up there as #1 in my book. How the district won a need-based grant is pretty interesting. One thing I recommend for this is, before implementing the grant, would be to consult the district's Department of Technology. They have one. They've got people there, and they should be consulted on this. Also, the district did not list any bilingual service department or